Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Vegvari, and alongside me, as always, my good pal Bobby. How the heck are you this week?
Beautiful, my good friend. It is coffee time for me, so I'm getting amped up to talk about probably the coolest game I played so far this year. What about you?
Love that. Yeah, I'm pretty amped. This is our second episode this week. We had to designate an entire episode to pretty big game. A pretty big game deserves a pretty big episode, and a pretty big episode deserves a third chair. And we welcome back Hayes Madsen. How the hell are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm tired, but I'm good.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Story of my life. Yeah, I know. Things are good on your end?
Yeah, pretty well. Pretty well. Yeah, back in the freelance grind. So
I know that well. It's awesome. It's exciting. But cool. Thanks for joining us for this episode. For everyone that clicked on the episode, you already know what you're getting yourself into: a full review discussion for Resident Evil Requiem. We had to put together a pretty good panel to talk about this game because it's one of the biggest and arguably maybe one of the best of 2026 so far. So we all appreciate you tuning in for this episode, whether or not you found us on Spotify, found us on YouTube, subscribe to the feed, share with friends, help grow the podcast because it really goes a long way for us. But this episode is going to be dedicated completely to Resident Evil. I think what we'll kind of do is we'll keep it basic top level spoiler free for the most part, and then maybe by the end we can kind of talk about some spoiler stuff just to satiate some people who have already beaten it, because at this point we're recording it essentially a week after launch. A lot of people have been going through it. We'll talk about
long game. So.
Exactly. I was going to say we'll talk about length and everything and how quickly we got through the game, but for the most part, it's not too long of a game that I think after a week a lot of people are getting through it. But I do want to just respect people who are taking their time with it, because I think that really matters with a game like this. But I guess to kick things off, we'll go around the horn. Hayes is our esteemed guest this week. I just want to know, like, very top level, how long did it take you to beat it? Where were you playing it? And like, what are your overall thoughts on Resident Evil Requiem?
Yeah. So I played it on PS5. I want to say it took me 9.5 hours.
Oh, very cool.
But I have seen some reports that like the playtime measurement is not quite accurate.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to play a little longer. I also sped through the Grace's first area because it was the whole area I played for the preview.
Sure.
So I knew exactly
at that point. Yeah, you don't really need to redo it.
But overall, I really like it. I had some issues and some quibbles, mostly like narrative wise and kind of like nostalgia bait wise. But I think in terms of gameplay, I think this is like maybe the strongest game in the series, to be honest, outside of RE2 Remake, which is my personal favorite. But
yeah,
I just think they found the balance really well between Grace's horror focus segments that are more in the style of 7 and 8.
Yep.
Versus Leon's action stuff that's from like the remakes. And I mean, it's basically Leon's stuff is basically Resident Evil 6 2.0. It is pure nothing but action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I really like the balance they found there. I like what they did with the characters mostly. That's kind of one of my bigger issues, is that I really do like Grace as a new character. I think she's a great newcomer to the series, but I don't really love the resolution to her plotline in this game.
Sure.
I feel like it starts out really strong with Grace and then very much pivots to Leon in the second half, and then kind of just forgets Grace is there until the end and like, oh yeah, we have to do something with her. Like she's here too. So that's kind of my major issue. But overall, like very strong, very good. I've played through it 3 times at this point.
Very cool.
I love it, and it's the kind of game like I probably will replay sometime in the next year or something again as well.
Yeah. Bobby, how about you?
I'm maybe a little bit more mixed. So, top level thoughts. I really do like it, but there are some very consistent issues throughout the game, and Hayes kind of touched upon most of them, but. My thing is, I don't know. I feel like that I do appreciate the fact that there's Grace's sections and Leon sections, but they detract from each other at the same time. Or like they're both the best they've ever felt, but because they're conjoined campaigns, like they don't get to fully flesh out what a full game could be. For Grace, I feel like her sections were amazing, but they're really short. And then for Leon's, like you really don't get to experience the full breadth of like a Resident Evil 4 campaign where with a proper vendor, with grenades, with extra stuff you find around like the levels or mutations of the zombies and stuff like that. It's just very one note, I feel, for myself at least, right? But I do appreciate that it's kind of just trying to close 30 years of history on this chapter. But I mean, I don't know. I've spoken offline with Hayes about this. I think he kind of touched upon it. It was like it felt like it was originally supposed to be something else, not a mainline title, and then it morphed into whatever it ended up being. Ultimately, like I do really love it. I've played it twice. I'm trying to do a third run through an insanity mode right now, which is killing me. But like it's really great. I just wish it was kind of more like Village, because I think that's kind of where I really resonate with the series the most. When Ethan was around, it was outside of Raccoon City. Umbrella was just kind of like just a little side note, and it was just moving away from that and opening up the lore and the backstory of some of the characters that may have not existed in previous games. Like it was just a great way to I think that's ultimately what I'm saying is I think Village is probably where the series peaked for me.
Cool. As for me, I think I'm sitting at around 11, 12 hours on my first playthrough. Haven't gone through a second one just yet, but my intention is to fully complete this game top to bottom, only because I really do like this. I have some, like you were saying, Hayes, I have some critiques on this game, but I think it's just kind of nitpicky at this point, because I think everything that it sought out to do, I think it does really well, but I kind of just wish that there was kind of a bit more editing in certain parts, especially within the later stages of Leon's parts, where I think that they get a little too focused in with Leon, and it kind of goes a little. It's almost this argument of like, quality over quantity, and I feel like at certain points Leon's sections get a little too long in the tooth, where I'm like, okay, we're kind of just doing the same thing, versus in the first half where every single time I got to play as Leon I had to smile ear to ear. I thought it was just like such a nice break from the dread of Grace's sections. But then you get into the second half and I'm like, okay, it's kind of wearing down on me. It's too much of a good thing almost. But I mean, that being said, and all that stuff we'll get into, but I think in terms of this being a self-reflection on what Resident Evil is, I think this is like a strong 9 out of 10. I mean, like it tackles everything from those like great puzzles that I love from, RE1 to RE2. It has like those, areas, like the first like main area serves as like such a like the mansion or the PD,
the care
and it's
center.
like you like understand that the care center front to back, like every single nook and cranny by the time you get out of it, and those are the things I really love. Or the Baxter Baker House of RE7. You just understand those, and like the setting becomes such a character. And then I think that it does a really good job of, in isolation, handling what Grace's sections are and then Leon's sections are. Like they handle totally differently. I love that you can customize and change the perspective on them. For me, I went first person for Grace, third person for Leon. I know a lot of people have, and I think that they kind of like expertly hone in on that kind of design philosophy of the perspective and the dread that you get to go through with Grace as this like timid FBI agent, and then immediately flip over to Leon just cracking skulls, grabbing a chainsaw, like throwing a gas tank at zombies, and then just like fighting some of the most outrageous boss battles that you could imagine within RE. And for the most part, I think that it all coalesces into a very satisfying story that I think serves the franchise very well. And I think, if you are a fan of both, RE2, 4, and the later games like 7 and 8, I think this is just the best of all worlds. And yeah, I'm really happy with it from top to bottom.
It's wild to play Leon sections in first person because
I can only imagine. I didn't.
It doesn't feel quite right.
Okay,
but it's intense, man.
Yeah,
because you still have all the mobility, is melee attacks and all that stuff. It's just in first person instead. It feels bizarre.
And I've said, because I wanted to do like a playthrough where it's just like I'm locked into the perspectives that I've chosen, and then the second one I get to have a little bit of fun. But I've seen like other people's gameplay and playthrough where it's like, oh, if you're playing as Grace, you're fumbling, you're tripping over yourself and everything, and that doesn't happen in first person. And I just love that kind of craft and appreciation to, well, if you're playing in this perspective, we're going to give you this isolated experience, but if you switch it around, we're going to give you like additive contextual little bits there. It's so thoughtful.
And I think that's one thing this game does really well is like the little details. I mean, everything about Requiem is so impeccably detailed, from like the one that jumped out to me immediately was like when Leon reloads his gun and you have the flashlight on and he like tucks it under his chin.
Yes.
So you can reload it. And even just like all the reload animations, and then like you said with Grace, like stumbling and tripping over herself. And then that extends to the enemies as well. Because I think one of my favorite things, and part of why I love the Care Center, I think is probably one of the best puzzle box areas the series has ever had. Outside of like Spencer Mansion RE1, which is obviously going to be
iconic. It's always going to be so hard to top that one.
Yeah, but they do such a good job with enemy design in this, especially with the detail that like this form of infected retains some kind of like muscle memory of their past lives. So like the servant zombies will turn off any lights that are on in the Care Center.
Yeah, and like one of the best ones was like the light goes off and I'm around the corner. I was like, oh, did a light just like blow out? And then I hear in the distance, like, oh, too bright. And I was like, this again, meaningful. It's all purposeful.
Yeah. And like the patients there that have head trauma, if you make too much noise, it sends them berserk.
Oh, really?
That's one of my favorite ones. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
They're all noise based, and you can also use that to get them to attack other zombies. So like if you hit a zombie with a glass bottle, they'll hear it and attack the zombie that you hit. And it's just little details like that that really enrich this game. And that's spread out across the entire thing. Even in like later sections where you're getting to, I guess it's not a spoiler to say Raccoon City because it was in the trailer.
It's in the trailer, yeah.
When you're getting to Raccoon City and like you're fighting irradiated zombies who are like buried under sand.
That was a very cool section. Cool. Yeah. And again, it plays so well into the placement of enemies, using the environment, not only for storytelling purposes, but to justify the existence of enemies in that area, what they're going to do, how they're going to react. Like, again, talking about the Raccoon City, like when you get into the deceased like soldiers and stuff like that and how they're reactive and very, very different to enemies you've encountered all the way through, or even throughout like RE history, like they're a very different breed of enemy type that you haven't really experienced before.
I think that's one of the fun things about Resident Evil is that because of the nature of what that series is and how people get infected, every game you can come up with some new excuse to do something interesting, like when RE4 we got the Las Plagas and then RE6 I played a little bit of RE6 again, and like the mobility of those zombies is insane. They just like they throw themselves at you from halfway across the area you're in, and RE has always found a really interesting way to like have excuses to do fun things with its enemies. Village did the same thing, with like the Lycans, and they were different from the general, ghouls that you fought. And then you have Cassandra's daughters, and just Requiem again is just very creative with its enemy designs.
Sure. Now I have a question, because this is something that I wasn't paying too much attention to a lot of the preview stuff. And maybe it was even mentioned. Did we, and I'm wondering because I know that you did some of the preview, did we know about the gun's name going into it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to think, because I had the Magnum. Capcom never explicitly said it, but I guess if you played the preview and like looked at the Magnum, you would know it's called Requiem.
Okay. Because I never heard anyone talk about it, and then you get to the section very early on in the game when Leon, talks about the name of the gun, or it's either that or like you pull it out as like an on-screen text or something. I was like, that is fucking badass, and I am all in on this idea. Like I don't know why. I never really thought why it was called Requiem leading up to it, and then it kind of explains it.
There's another reason too later on.
That is true, but
they say
up
Requiem.
front, yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, that is so cool to have a gun called Requiem was very, very cool.
A good gun too. It's one of my favorite Magnums of the series, I think.
Yes,
it's so satisfying to use.
Yep. No, so I want to talk about some of the gameplay differences between Grace and Leon. I mean, Grace obviously harkens back to stuff that we've seen very recently within the core series, whether it's 7 and 8. How did you feel like Grace kind of differentiated that gameplay loop of the first person, of the more spooky vibes, being more plodding and thoughtful with your movement and the way that you navigate the areas?
It's weird to say, because like Grace is definitely like the route of the series after 7 and 8, but 8 obviously went much more action focused. So I would say Grace's stuff is quite different from 8, even though it's in the same vein. But I really think Grace's gameplay is kind of more of a return to the methodical horror of past games. It's not tank controls or anything, but to me, it feels more in line with like the old games 1, 2, and 3 before 4 went to third person, because it's very much about careful planning and learning enemy patterns, and the ammo management in Grace's stuff is really good. I think they really nailed the scarcity of ammo with this game in particular.
Almost to a unfortunate degree, because I'll tell you exactly. So I was playing, and I ran into one of the most detrimental bugs in this game, where one of the items, I don't think it's a spoiler or anything, one of the core things to Grace's sections are the ability to craft bullets, craft things by collecting blood. I went through, and throughout the first section with it, you can collect like the ancient coins that you have been, inundated with in very recent games and everything. And you can unlock something called the manual override or something. I did not know that if you collect that before getting the blood collector never spawns.
Are you serious?
Yep.
That's a huge bug.
Yep.
Wow.
You never get the blood collector up until the very last section of the game. So PSA for everyone that hasn't played it and has not gotten to that section, do not get that one, because I went online. I was talking to other people, and they're like, no, this is a very known bug, and there's no way to fix it unless you just revert to save. And I was like, I'm hours into this. I'm just
crazy.
Full steam ahead. So I went through my entire playthrough never crafting anything as Grace.
No, that's fine. You got an achievement out of it, right?
There is an achievement, absolutely. So I was winning on that.
I guess by and large, most people that wouldn't happen, but
no,
it's kind of surprising that made it into the.
And it's a very interesting thing. Yeah, it's just like collecting one specific item negates that thing spawning, and there's no way to fix it. Yeah. So hopefully they patch it out. Hopefully they fix it in the near future. But I just want to put that out there. It was very unfortunate. I never got to experience Grace's crafting.
There's, this kind of goes along with Grace's character. Like, I really love her sections in this, but it kind of ties into my problem with Grace, where like I don't feel like there's any satisfying end game for her like gameplay progression either.
No,
like Leon, you have all these upgrades that you're getting, and you're outfitting your guns and upgrading them and customizing them. Grace has, you can get the health bonuses and the gun damage bonuses and things like that. But realistically, you don't really need those, because you can stealth around most enemies in this game.
Sure.
And I just felt like there was no cathartic moment for Grace's gameplay side, because Leon gets all these big bosses at the end and the final boss, but Grace doesn't really have that. There's no big moment where her gameplay experience kind of caps off.
No, I think it, like, to that point, I think a lot of it does come by virtue of very specific moments early on, but it kind of peters out as the game kind of goes on. Like, you do get these like larger than life moments as Grace, her being, this fish out of water contextually within the series. But then they kind of just like peter off, and like you were saying earlier, Grace kind of becomes this afterthought to the game, and it becomes the Leon show, which I'm a huge Leon S. Kennedy fan through my entire life. So that to a certain degree, I was like, okay, I'm fine with it. But then you do get towards the end, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I like Grace. I think she's a great addition to the series and everything, but she didn't have as much of a impact as I kind of wanted by the time credits rolled.
What I hope they do, and I would know we can get into spoilers later, but I do hope we see Grace in another game.
Me too.
And I would, it'd be main series, sure, but it'd also be great to get like Revelations 3, where she's
and put her there. Yeah,
I think that would be really cool.
Bobby, I want to get you in on this. How do you feel about the differences between playing as Grace, playing as Leon? How do you feel about it all?
Yeah, so I think we're all in the same boat. We love both. I would have preferred a full Grace game, to be honest with you.
Sure.
And she's just the better protagonist for a game like this. Like, the way it starts out, it really should have just had been her journey. Like, she gets kidnapped, she's moved to the Rhode Island care center, and then she escapes, and then it's suddenly she's kidnapped again, and it's like taken to the next location, and then she's got to fight her way through that. And I would have preferred that, and then ultimately, whatever could have come out of that would have been really cool, because at the end of the day, Leon is the poster boy for the series now. We all know this. We know everyone's swooning over him, but he's such a distraction, and it really doesn't let the story breathe. It really is just more like, here's a callback, here's a reference, here's a little Easter egg, here's something else, and it's all for Leon. And I feel like that just it ruined just the hype I had for the game. And rightfully, that's why I said earlier, I prefer Village, because like I said, as much as we all love Leon, as much as I love the fact that he's got a hatchet, I love the Requiem gun, I love just how confident he is in fighting zombies now. It's just like that sense of dread you get as Grace is what makes this like Resident Evil for me. Like, those early sections were so good. She's this young woman, she's terrified, she doesn't know what she's doing, and there's even moments where she's like, what do I do when she's encountered with it's like, she's like, what do I do?
There's a part early on where like a door slams when you're at the Redwood Hotel, and I love that she just stands there and she's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, do something.
Yeah, and it's like, I love the fact that she's literally just an analyst who's now thrown into the field, and she's got no field experience. She can barely use her gun, and like, I love the fact that the more you played as her, she got more confident. Like, you can see in like her animations, like at the beginning, she's really shaky. Closer to the end, her hands shake less when she's firing. She's a little bit more confident in how she's approaching a situation. Like, I would have loved to see her transition from like, that field analyst to whatever I feel like she was supposed to originally be. And I feel maybe that Capcom might have not been confident enough to give her a full game, and that's why Leon had to come in. But I mean, who knows?
I think Leon's stuff is fascinating to think about too, because like, this game's a big nostalgia play.
It is, because there's so many things that you can like look back to when you get to RPD, and it's like Leon opens the gate. Remember, it was locked in RE2.
Yep.
Or like the welcome sign that had the misspelling, or just like all these small little things. Like, I love seeing that stuff. It was just like, it's time to move past that. And
I have mixed feelings on it, because I think there's some really good stuff here when the game tries to seriously like narratively let Leon tackle the past,
right?
Kind of his role in Raccoon, and still being bound by all this and not
Mhm.
being able to escape it. And he commits to helping Grace because he couldn't save
Right.
people last
Yeah.
time. But I also then think there's some like really ham-fisted Force Awakens kind of stuff. Where it's like,
1000%.
here's
100%.
this enemy. Remember how cool they were?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. Sure.
And that's the moment that I was like, oh, it went from
There's one moment of
there's one moment, and we won't say, but like I do agree. I thought everything, and it's no spoiler, it's in the trailer and everything, but like the section within the police department was incredible for me, someone who has followed Resident Evil his entire life, starting with 2. It did feel like this cathartic moment, like you're saying, of Leon facing his past, coming to relinquish like so many of these feelings that, you know, him and us as a player have kind of like held on to for, you know, less than just around 30 years or something. And yeah, it's just a thoughtful level design in that section and everything. But then it culminates in what I think is like kind of like a jump in the shark moment for it.
Yeah.
But I do think that as fun as Leon is as a character with his quips, as you know, being, you know, the
There's some
thirst
good
trap for the
one-liners,
internet right now and everything. I think his gameplay is some of the best that we've seen from him thus far. I think his ability to switch weapons out and have this arsenal and have the axe and be able to parry enemies and just take on like be like this one-man army in a
Mhm.
way. I think it's just so justified for this character that we've seen since like his first day on the job, and he's become like this, you know, again, this machine of a man.
I went back and started RE5 last week.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
after playing Requiem, it was like, oh my God, this feels terrible. It's just like
I
so
want to talk about
clunky.
RE5 especially in a bit, because I think there's like some poignant things to talk about in reflection to this game. But I can imagine that the way the game's handle it, because Requiem is so fluid
It
and
plays so well.
like
It
I
just
think
feels impeccable.
the best the series has ever been.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no comparison. It is
In the way that you swap out guns, the aiming is very satisfying, it's frenetic, the item management is really good and snappy. Like I don't feel like
Yeah.
I'm in my back pocket every few minutes, like trying to a sword and you know auto sort things just to grab a green plant that I happen to find.
I especially like, I really love Leon's opening of the game. That part in Renwood where the outbreak is starting on the streets and you're fighting through the streets while zombies are killing people.
Yep.
And like you can save people, which I think is kind of, it's just a really exceptionally well done character intro. Especially because it's this older Leon who's been through all this and he knows what's happening. It just is such a, I don't know, like that is one of my favorite moments of the game, is just that opening mission of his where you're running down the street and the outbreak is starting to happen.
It reminded me of, like, I think justifiably, the opening to The Last of Us.
Yeah,
but
more interactive.
More interactive, and in a way, like you were saying, like you can save people, you can just watch the world burn in a way. And it kind of brings me to this idea, and I'm wondering what both of you think. It's that section with, you know, both Grace and Leon like walking through the streets in their own respective moments, but then there's the part in Raccoon City. Like it's clear this game was supposed to be an open world game at one point, right?
100%.
Like we're all on that same page.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's especially apparent with Leon's whole section in Raccoon, which is very open-ended.
Yeah.
And like there's like 3 different objectives, but you could do them in any order.
Sure. Yeah.
And you can really see the bones of like where that was starting to go. I don't think I doubt they ever got like a fully working open world build.
No. But I see the
concept
bones.
Is there.
Yeah, I see the bones, and it kind of made me feel like not that I want like a revisionist to this or anything, but it does make me want to, you know, daydream about one day what would an open world Resident Evil game even look like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it needs to be. I mean, I feel like it's probably for the best. It wasn't. I do like the way they went. The open hubs they're accessible, they're manageable. there's enough in them to do, right? I don't really want to see an open world. I don't know how they would do that. Like, I don't feel like it would work. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't
the
mind
way
seeing
Uncharted 4 did, I like
deep.
Uncharted 4 had the best idea, right? It was just big hubs, and you just go from this point to this point, and it was just whatever was there you could do. But like, I don't know, full open world, I don't know.
Yeah, I do worry that you might lose some of the edge
Well,
of
the narrative will get lost in
puzzles.
that because you got to plan around the world, not the story.
Mhm. And Village had elements of that too,
Yes.
right? It had open world elements, even though it was linear narrative wise. There was a lot of optional exploration that you could do.
Yeah, like again, I just kind of saw through the Matrix when in that Raccoon City area, and I'm like, could it work? I again, I'm not smart enough. I'm sure that there's a team at Capcom that could figure it out and make it work, especially if they leaned on like maybe even the Dragon's
100%,
Dogma
yeah.
2 team for
Mhm.
some assistance. Not that I would want it to be mainline or anything, but I think that there's something there, and I thought it was just a very interesting little section there because I'm not used to that. I'm not used to that kind of like open-endedness within the objectives anyways.
It's interesting with the series now because I feel like I'm at least at the point where like ever since 7 and even 6, I've gone back to 6 and I respect 6 a lot more.
Okay.
But like Capcom has pretty well succeeded in everything it wanted to do with Resident Evil. Revelations 2 even did a lot of different stuff and it was quite good. And like at this point, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt if they want to do something wildly different with the next game. Even like, I know there's rumors of a Resident Evil 1 remake again that have been popping up, and like, I'm open to that. I think it would be interesting to see what a third-person action RE1 would look like, because that RE1 remake is one of the best remakes of all time, and that's still there. But I would love to see a new interpretation of it too.
And I guess this is a good time to kind of circle back to my thoughts on RE5 is that I remember having long conversations with people who, were in the RE community of like, could RE5 work as a remake similar to like 2 or 3, or would it just have to be not remade, but like a total remake? And I think RE Requiem kind of, to me at least, brings up a case that RE5 could stand on its own as a proper remake. I mean, so many people bring up, Chris punching the boulder and everything, but I see some of the shit that Leon's doing in this one, and it just makes sense somehow. And I'm like, I think that RE5
like
could live on.
One of the series' best moments, I think.
Yeah.
And I think gameplay-wise, 5, you could justify that. There's a lot you need to do to culturally modernize that game.
Yes,
is the best way to say it.
But I don't think that you have to blow Resident Evil 5 up in order to like make an entirely new game. I think you have to rework a couple things, but I don't think it's as I think it's more salvageable than a lot of people give it credit for. And I think RE Requiem brings up a very good case of why they could do it down the road. I mean, I still want Code Veronica. I still want 0, 1, way before I even want them to start touching 5 or 6. But yeah, some of the craziest shit in Requiem just harkens back to 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear that like they have this new continuity that they're working with.
Right.
When 2 started to change things, and 3 changed things, and 4 remake changed things, and it's very obvious that Requiem is in the remake continuity, not the OG continuity.
Right.
And there are a few particularly interesting and big retcons for the series that would alter quite a bit about 5, how 5 narratively plays out, I think.
Yeah. And I think, again, if that's the goal, I think, they're doing enough. And I think, even the ending of 4 remake, the post-credit or something, like the very ending
with Wesker.
Yeah, like they're clearly planting some seeds over a long time just to kind of get to what I think will eventually be a refined Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, and I do wonder if the intent is to bring Wesker back, because I think there's a lot of evidence for that.
Sure.
Especially like there's a concept that came up in Revelations 2 about consciousness transfer.
Oh, sure.
That Requiem mentions it. It doesn't become a big deal.
No.
But it's mentioned. And it's very interesting because that was a big part of Revelations 2, especially when like the main villain of Revelations 2 was Wesker's sister.
Yeah.
That we never knew about until that came. But it's just like I wonder what the intent is, because it feels like there's a plan, right?
There has to be, right? Like with this many remakes, and again, going back to RE4's ending, like they are thoughtfully planting seeds, setting things up. They're creating new like scenes and assets and everything. They're not just doing this for like willy-nilly, right? Like
it ties into Seven and Village as well. They bring those in
to
the end of this game as well. So there's a deliberate effort to kind of tie all the threads of the series together.
I agreed. And I think I do think that there is a justifiable reason to kind of go back into the well for some of these games that haven't gotten the remake treatment. Now that we've gotten like a full trilogy of brand new games at this point, albeit without Ethan, R.I.P. My little boy.
Yeah.
My little boy. He did have his moment. Yeah.
He saved Rose, so he's good. That's all he wanted.
That's all he wanted. Yeah, exactly. And now we have Grace. Let's talk about some of like the enemy types in this. This is one of the areas of the game that I feel like they kept it a little bit safe. And we don't have to get into, too many of the bosses, but in terms of like, the standardized enemies and everything, I felt like there was just, typical Resident Evil fodder for the most part. How about you guys? What do you guys think about the enemies you were facing?
I really like the blister heads. Those are the ones that, because it's basically the Crimson Heads. Like it's just a new version of them. But I think, especially in Grace's section, like they work really well as this kind of like way to ratchet the tension up.
Yeah.
And I just think they're scary. They're honestly scary. I don't like them. It freaks me out anytime I have to fight one of them.
What was the one from Last of Us? Not the clicker, but it was the other one.
The bloater?
Not the bloater.
I'm not sure.
It's the one that skitters around. Remember, like in Ellie's.
Oh, yes. Yep.
If they pop up, the stalker. Like the way they would like basically like just appear and then they kind of skid around because they have the same kind of movements. Like when you're aiming at one of them, they'll do like this zigzag at you. And I love that. Like their enemies and Grace's sections are probably my favorite. And obviously they're all catered to her gameplay. And I feel like once they go to Leon, it's just like they lose any of that fear I have of them. And the only saving grace is just like the fact that, she's just, I appreciated the fact that she didn't know what to do. Like that's kind of what I'm going back to. It's like, I like the fact that her enemies are just basically either the workers there that I think the workers are probably my favorite batch of enemies. I love this, the lounge singer. Just going
that was very cool.
I love the sanitation crew. I love the guy who's doing the bulldozer in the garage. Like I love those enemies, and it's just like Leon's are very standard at this point. It's like, and it isn't so farther later when you get to the massive spider or Gideon stuff, because like that's where I was like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see it. But like up until then, it was just like I don't know. I was kind of tuned out for Leon sections because it was just like they're all so standard.
I did enjoy seeing, I guess if we're talking about enemy types, like I did enjoy seeing the lickers coming back.
The lickers were great. Because and like I love the contextual kills. Like Leon, you can cut its tongue off, like Grace,
or you can pit him against the soldiers.
Yeah. Like you can do stuff like that, and I appreciate stuff like that. It's just like I don't know, maybe more of a callback to other stuff or add something new. But like it was just like here's what we're focused on these ones. Just they're everywhere, and like that's fine. But I don't know. Grace's sections were probably my favorite with enemies, and I still feel like between, like I said, the loud singer or the butcher, like, or baby, or what's the other one?
I don't know. What are the really big guys?
There's
Like the bloated dudes.
Which one? The one that would like stalk you?
Yeah.
Or are you talking with the blisters, Hayes?
I was talking about the guys that stalk you.
Oh,
Chunk.
Chunk, that's its name.
Yeah. No, it's Chunk and then the girl. Those are the really spooky
I thought
guys.
his name was Baby.
I have no idea what Baby is.
Yeah, Baby is
You said Baby, I was like, Bob.
Oh, sorry. Baby's from oh my god. Baby's from Village.
Village, yeah. It's in the dollhouse or whatever, yeah.
Chunk, yeah, sorry, Chunk. Fuck, Baby. Yeah, I love those kind of animes, and that's the kind of stuff I want to see. And I get people are like kind of disappointed that it's whatever, it's making fun of fat people, but like I love those kind of animes. Like I love how creepy they look. I appreciate that. But Girl is probably my favorite out of everything, of the bigger ones. And I wish we got more of that stuff, like having her just being stalked like that, and like she doesn't know how to react, and then you got to either
It was a good mix. I liked how they handled the stalker enemies of this game. I found, like in the past, Nemesis and Tyrant, they're kind of a little annoying at times when you just want to get to a certain section, and it's just like you kind of like break the physics of the game just to put the enemy in front of you just as a barricade. I'm like, come on, guys, like this is kind of annoying at this point. But I liked how the sparing use of these enemy types in this game, and I thought the design of them especially was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think the design is probably the best. Like the gore is off the chart. I think it's probably for sure the goriest game in the series. And I love that.
They're only in one section, but I also really like the dogs in this.
Oh yeah, the dogs.
Oh sure.
During the motorcycle segment, but like it's the only time you see them. So,
and they just kind of pop out of nowhere.
Yeah,
talking about like the fan service bit, that was the one part where I was like, I feel like they're just like.
I do really like the note you find though in the facility at the end, where it's basically just like, here's what it costs to buy all these bioweapons. It's very funny.
The tire one is $120 million. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I saw some of them. I was like, wow, okay. This was really planned out. Like there was so many small details. I love these callbacks because like
just a very generic note of like, here's the MSRP of bioweapons.
Yeah. I guess at this point, we can talk some spoiler stuff for everyone that wants to be averse to some spoilers. If you guys haven't played Resident Evil Requiem, let's just close out with some of these thoughts, and then we'll get into spoilers, and then we'll wrap up the show. But Hayes, I mean, I assume you would recommend this game to people who haven't played it so far.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I do think there's an element of like, you should at least play RE2 Remake.
Okay, this is a great thing. I do want to talk about this before we get into spoilers.
If you're not going to play it, I wouldn't say you have to play the whole series or anything, but I very much think you should play RE2 Remake, which is, it's a fairly short game too, so it's not that hard.
Yeah.
But past that, like, I do think this is another pretty good entry into the series. But I do think also, like, one of the things that's interesting about Resident Evil is like the way we appraise these games kind of significantly shifts over time, right? Like even with Village, I think people have become a lot more positive on that game than they were maybe at launch. And I just think it's interesting to see how perception of Resident Evil games kind of changes, because a lot of times the context of these games changes with newer ones.
Yeah.
So I do think that I like a lot of what's here, but there's also very much a idea of leaving the past behind, right? Like that's kind of a core theme of this game, is like, this is the conclusion to the Raccoon saga. Yeah. And that means narratively, and that means gameplay wise too. So I do wonder what's coming in 10, and if what happens with 10 might make me feel different about Requiem.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, because to a lesser degree, I kind of had the same feeling with Village, where I was like, oh, my feelings of Village have affected how I feel about 7, narratively, quite a bit. But no, going back to the discussion of like what's a requirement to go into 9. I think a lot of it does stand alone on its own. If you've never played a Resident Evil game, I think a lot of it does stand on its own, with the acceptance of some very high concept stuff. Like, you have to be along for the ride. You kind of have to, have a ticket of admission for whatever is going to get thrown your way. You kind of have to just be willing to accept it. That being said, I think that you get so much more out of this if you have followed Leon's journey from 2, 4, 6 and into 9, because I think it is a love story, not to the franchise, but specifically Leon S. Kennedy.
Yeah, and I will say too, if you're like one of the real like lore sickos of the series, there's a lot here
So
for
much.
you, especially the last like hour is just like filled with revelations and huge twists and retcons to a degree, and it's just
very
like,
cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby, how about your closing thoughts on Requiem before we move into some spoiler stuff?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, I fully recommend it. I would actually say play 4, Resident Evil 4. It's worth it because it really lets you appreciate Leon fully at that point. It's pretty short as well. I think 12 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
They're all good games too. So
they're all good games. Like,
sorry, you've got to play Resident Evil 4.
Oh no.
The only optional game I would say maybe is Village, because there are some tie-ins into there, and like it really does give you a little bit more insight into who's running this show behind the scenes. But like that's all. That's optional. I wouldn't even say 7 is necessary, but 8.
I wouldn't even say, like, to me, you could get away not playing 8 at all. I say like 2 is the requirement.
2's for sure, but because there's some people that you end up like learning about, not even learning, like just rediscovering them, and it's like, oh, they're kind of the ones. And if we're gonna go into full spoilers, can we do that?
Well, hold on. Yeah, we will.
Okay.
I'll
talk about it later.
Yeah. As for me, I completely wholeheartedly recommend this. If you're a diehard fan of Resident Evil, like I have been my entire life, you're going to absolutely love this. If you are a newcomer and you're like, I just want to get on the hype, I think you can play this game top to bottom and have an absolute blast, because mechanically, visually, this is a AAA fucking video game. Like, it's stunning. It plays well, handles well. Some of the audio design in this game is immaculate. But I think if top to bottom, this is Capcom at its best, creating a super solid Resident Evil game. And since 7, they have not really missed. And I think whatever magic they have going on over at that studio is, I hope they keep it up. I hope they keep it up.
I will also say that I really hope they add a mercenaries mode for this game.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Oh my God. I need mercenaries with like the Leon gameplay.
That would be really cool.
I
can't not do that.
Honestly, just get VR back into it, because Village was great in VR. So I don't know. Revisiting as Grace, that'd be really cool.
Cool. Well, with that all being said, for people who want spoilers, continue listening on. If not, close it out here and come back and listen to a little bit more before we wrap up the show. But yeah, I'll throw it to everyone. If there's anything spoiler rich that you guys want to talk about before we close out the show, it's an open field right now.
Yeah, I guess the first thing is what I alluded to earlier is like what would change a 5 remake.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I think the big thing here is obviously the Spencer stuff.
Yes.
Where we learned that like Elpis is a vaccine basically against the virus.
Yeah.
Which could completely change the face of Resident Evil's world.
Yeah.
And that like Spencer started to regret his creation of the T virus to a degree. Not in like it, but I think what's really interesting is that it's like, it's not like a deep moral regret. Like he did something wrong, right? He regrets it in a way that it was used in a way that he didn't want it to be used.
Right. Out of his control, and it kind of like got too big for even what he wanted it to be. Yeah.
Because I think the important distinction to make is that this game doesn't try and like forgive Spencer's sins.
No.
It doesn't try and say like, oh, he tried to make amends.
Yeah.
He's still a terrible monster. He just like did something good because of how his feelings changed.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of like really interesting lore implications tied up in that. Like when you go to Spencer's office, there's a painting on the wall of Mother Miranda.
Yeah.
And in Village, we learn about his connection with Mother Miranda and how she wanted him to help with her research. And I think this game kind of implies that his interactions with Miranda was probably a part of his change of heart.
Sure. Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that, we saw his death in Resident Evil 5. So it was a flashback to when Wesker killed him.
Yep.
And the vibe of that scene is very much like Spencer as a madman who wanted to create gods. And I think if the stuff we learned in Requiem is true, that scene is probably going to play out very differently.
I would assume so. Yeah. I would assume that, and especially if we go into this whole idea of Wesker still being alive to some degree or out there to some degree, I could see it totally being a recontextualization of that scene of now that we have the context of what Elpis is and Spencer's involvement in the creation of it and everything. Why, like, what was Wesker's like thought process in that moment, confronting him?
Yeah, and it's like I said before. There's clearly a plan. I just don't really know where it's going because we learn more about the connections.
Yep,
who were introduced in 7 and talked about in 8. And we finally learn about him, and there's Timu Wesker with Xeno.
Which, can we just say, I love this character.
I do too.
Oh, he was awesome. It's just like I don't feel like he had a place in the story.
That's why I love it, because especially on a replay, my favorite thing is you're like, man, this guy sucks. He's a terrible villain. He's stupid. He trusts the people he shouldn't. He sucks, and I think it's very funny how much he sucks.
He's very like underestimated in the way he acts versus the way he looks, because like he looks like Timu Wesker, he's got the hair, the glasses, everything like that. But then there's the one scene where he's where you're in the Ark and like fighting Leon, and he pulls out the fucking sickest gun you'll ever see. I was like, oh my god, this guy rocks. I love his aesthetic. I love like just everything about him. I'm like, this fits. Again, going back to this fits so much more as like a Resident Evil 5-esque game than it does anything else. Like this feels like a continuation of the over-the-top absurdness that you'd see in RE5.
Yeah. When oh, go ahead.
I will say that last section kind of blew. I don't know. I felt kind of disappointed by that last boss fight because I did like that Xeno stuff, and then the Nemesis, it was just such a letdown for me.
Yeah,
I was so by the books.
I don't dislike the Elpis stuff. I like a lot of that, especially like it being a cure. But halfway through the game, when they were talking about like consciousness transferal and like Grace being important, I really thought they were going to like try and transfer Wesker's consciousness into Grace. I thought that's where the game was going.
That would be wild.
At this point, I would just be happy to just put it Wesker clone in every game and just name them different, just something different every game.
But I do think that's ultimately the road that they're going with the tease at the end of 4, and all the Revelations 2 consciousness transfer was like the big thing in that game.
Yep,
and they mention it again here, and you got like the Tricell logos on stuff in the Ark, and like and connections. We're learning more about the connections, and like I really think that is the direction they're going. Personally,
it's funny, and to bring in like a Star Wars comparison, it almost does feel like what is going on thing. Exactly. It's like, holy shit, like we have to spend decades retconning and fixing Resident Evil because we fucked up with 5 and 6 to such a degree. And I just feel like everything that Resident Evil has been doing has been like planting little seeds of how do we justify what we did in 5, how do we, and maybe retcon it or just make it make a lot more sense contextually, because a lot of people did not like 5, and even more so did not like 6.
But it's also the kind of thing where it's like Resident Evil is so, and I mean this endearingly, it's so stupid.
I know
that like you could sell it. Like you transfer Wesker's consciousness, and you could sell that, and honestly, I would probably be okay with it.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I think it was after village that I was like, I'm so like we have a boss character turn into a dragon, and at this point, everything's on the table. I think.
No, I'm fine with that.
One thing I
They
want to
should get
ask,
absurd.
I've seen some conflicting thoughts on this.
Mm.
The commander that you fight, is that Hunk or is that not Hunk?
It's Hunk.
It has to be, right?
No, I don't think
It's
it
Hunk.
is. Because in the character model viewer, it just says the commander. And like in 2, when you look at the character models, it says Hunk.
It says Hunk. It's strange because they put so much emphasis on this idea that he knows Leon, like, or there is the idea that, and maybe it goes to your argument, Hayes, is that Leon is so renowned that just this person could know of him. I'm torn on it, but it just felt like there was like
there's like little things that like kind of say it is him. Like one, like they share the same voice actor.
Yeah.
And then when you come back to that same area, like his body's gone, whereas not even most, all the other bodies are still there. Like anything you killed was.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. I didn't realize that.
And then there's another thing where you can look up close and his body's infected. So I think it is
interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
I was convinced that it was, but I could see there being an argument why it couldn't, just not be. But in my head canon right now, I think it is cool that it would be.
Yeah.
They never met. Another thing. Sorry, just started to cut you off. He's got that same like head snapping thing that he does in Mercenaries.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's all these little like things that imply that it's him, but maybe like he's just another clone. Who knows, right? I mean, maybe they're doing that. But I feel it is Hunk. I feel like they have to put him in something, right? Like, I know people do like him.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see him. I was like, oh shit, they brought him back somehow. So and it works. I love.
Did you guys read Grace's file at the end when you beat the game?
No.
Yeah, I was going through it because it's I think it's like 60 pages. I was going through it.
Yeah, it basically recontextualizes the whole series for like the revelations in this game. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I want to spend time just going through it because I saw how deep it actually is, and for people who might have skipped it over, like for little sickos out there, little freaks, RE freaks, I think it's something that you could just like sit down for an hour and just kind of read through. I think it's really cool.
I guess the question now is like, I think we're getting a remake next, obviously, probably Code Veronica.
That's what the insiders have been saying. Yeah.
But where do you want Resident Evil 10 to go? What does Resident Evil 10 do? I think the series is at a weird point again now where it feels like it has to reinvent itself again.
Yeah, I like the distinction of there being the core idea of like the third person games, but then I do like the first person games as well. And kind of to what Bobby was saying earlier, I kind of like the separation. I think it works for this game of having the contrast, so it works so well. But I don't know if having that contrast every single game is going to work, especially if we start bringing back other characters like Claire or Jill or anyone else. Like honestly, because I do want to see some of the legacy characters pop up again in the same ways that we've seen Chris and Leon at this point. But that being said, I do think that we have to move on. We have to start introducing or reintroducing characters that haven't had the same limelight. So maybe for 10, we bring back Grace. Maybe we bring back another character. But I do think that because we have the remakes and because the idea is that those are going to be third person, I would like to see another mainline game go back to just a first person focus game. Still give them the option of third person if you really want to, but I think just having that kind of through line of this is going to be your horror game, and then Code Veronica, Zero, RE remake, those could be more of your action games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go. You can go first.
I would like to have a game with the BSAA tracking down the connections.
Yeah.
It's like they're very elusive still. We know some of the operatives, like we know Mia and like Victor, and Xeno and stuff. But it's like, what else is going on? Like this is obviously like an international like thing. So like, let's move to another location. Let's track them and see like where, and then bring it to another place. I would like to go somewhere like far east, like Banoi, and like just somewhere like tropical, but it's zombie, like literally Dead Island. Give us a Dead Island kind of thing.
That's interesting too, because we do essentially know like the BSAA is compromised to a degree by the U.S. government. I think that I feel pretty strongly that 10 like needs to be a Jill game,
right? Yeah,
because you brought her back in 3 remake, and she was in Death Island movie as well, and like she's the one. I'd say the 3 biggest legacy characters, right, are Chris, Jill, and Leon. Claire is big too, but I think Claire should be the focus of Requiem's DLC.
Yeah,
I think that would be really interesting, because you have this whole like retrospective element with the Raccoon City incident. I think it's not quite fair that Leon gets his like cathartic moment and
fair.
Jill's just not there.
Yeah.
So I think it would make sense to have Jill be Requiem DLC, especially with Code Veronica coming up.
And then just be like, again, one step behind Leon the entire time. And once again.
Yeah. And then I would love to see Jill as the focus of the 10. And that
would
can
be very
like
cool.
alongside Grace, or even I think there's a potential that it's alongside Rose as well.
Yeah.
I would love to see like a Rose Jill buddy game, and Chris is just kind of there like as the advisor. I think
just go full woke and make it a full female focused game. Let everyone have a meltdown online.
Just make the Uncharted Lost Legacy of Resident Evil. Like, honestly,
that would be cool.
Perfect with that.
Or you could do Jill, Grace, and Rose. Just do trio. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, because we are in like a bit of an awkward period for the series, where we're not quite where Rose's DLC was from Village. So we would either have to do like a bit of a time skip, or fill in the gap with a mainline game and then get to Rose to some degree, which would be interesting.
What year is 2037 for Rose's DLC? So what year is this game? 2029?
I thought isn't this 26? Because usually RE games are set in the
This is 26, so we're still like 11 years.
9 years away. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a weird one to get to bridge, but like I don't know. I feel like they can make it work.
And there's no way that Rose isn't coming back, because it'd be so bizarre to have that DLC and the teaser and then just never do anything with her again.
Well, I think not only that, but then you have 2 games where the sole focus is this character in a way, right? Like Ethan's entire legacy was for Rose.
Yeah.
So to never touch on Rose ever again would be crazy, in my opinion. I would like to see that character come back and have more of an impact on the franchise.
Especially because I think it would be interesting, because she has powers, right?
Yeah.
It would be very interesting to see like a power-based Resident Evil, I think. Where you have these different powers that you're using in a survival horror kind of format. I think that would be fascinating. Yeah,
that would be cool, because we're not used to something like that in the as far as like main characters in RE. Anything else we haven't touched on, spoiler wise?
I guess the only other big thing to hit is like Leon is apparently married.
Sure.
Yeah,
did you see that?
A big one.
Because in the scene at the end when he takes his glove off, he's got a wedding ring on.
Ring on, yeah.
Yeah. And
I honestly always just assumed it was that ring you got for the CP points. I was like, oh.
Now the shipping war has begun.
Absolutely.
Ada versus Claire. Yeah.
I don't think it's Ada. There's no way. It just doesn't make sense.
It also ties into my favorite like fan canon story about Resident Evil, which is that like Chris is desperate to get like a powerful man to marry Claire to carry on the Redfield bloodline. Have you seen that?
No, but that's fucking funny.
It is a very, very popular fan canon thing.
Okay.
And like one of the most popular things is that he wants Leon to marry Claire so he can carry on the Redfield bloodline. It's very
good.
funny.
I like that.
See, like that I'm down with. Like that should be canon.
What?
No, I'm down with that. That's crazy. That's the kind of stuff we want in Resident Evil.
Okay.
So like I'm down for that. 8 is just so boring. It's like the most obvious one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm all for shipping Leon and Ada. I've always been.
Or like if you really want to go out there, put Chris and Leon together. Like call it a day. Like really.
There are a lot of people that think Chris might be gay, actually.
I'm fully on board with anything they do. Like as long
Let them kiss. Let them kiss it out.
Make out. Like just go for it.
That new Resident Evil movie, Welcome to Raccoon City, wasn't Chris gay in that?
There were vibes.
Yeah,
there were vibes.
I was like, I'm not gonna watch these. I can't watch these movies. They're bad. I was like, I never. So
it wasn't a great movie, but I don't remember them implicitly saying that he was gay.
Yeah.
It had some fun stuff, but overall, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
All I know is that I wish I could just close my eyes and see what comes next, because like I'm excited. I love what this game is, what it's encapsulated, and like what it means for the series. So like I'm inching closer to saying it's on par with Final Fantasy being one of my favorite series. Like it's near and dear to my heart after so long. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy just how much I've grown to love it since the remakes, at least. I mean, they really did a good job to really show like how special the series is.
Yeah, Resident Evil is one of those series that like I'll tune in for whatever they do, even if there's stuff I don't like in it. Like it's always going to be a ride, no matter what.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I do want to close out the show with some breaking RE news. Capcom just had their
the Capcom Spotlight.
Yeah, the Spotlight, and some RE news came out of it. Nothing major or anything, but this year marks the 25th anniversary of Universal Studios Japan, the theme park that has teamed up with Resident Evil to deliver some unbeatable entertainment for years. To commemorate the momentous anniversaries, a new collaboration based on RE Requiem will immerse visitors to the game's world like never before. There is going to be a Resident Evil 30th anniversary concert that's going to be touring, and then a new arcade game based on RE2. Cool.
Interesting.
I wish I was there. Like I literally, oh man, that park is huge. So like I can see them doing something cool there, because honestly, when I went, there was places where literally there was just like prime real estate for something like that. So like cool. I'm looking forward to it. I wish I was there when it goes live, but whatever.
Yep.
Perfect time to go back.
Well, that about does it for this episode, Hayes. As always, thank you for taking time to talk to us, to join us. If people wanted to connect with your work, connect with you online, where could they do so?
Yeah, best place is on Blue Sky at Soul Fleet. That's mainly where I am. You can find my newsletter that I do on there. And I'm a contributor RPG site now, so
very cool.
I'll be popping up there more often. And then other than that, I'm in the freelance world, so you've seen me a lot of places.
Love that for you. Bobby, how about you?
Yep, Beepashalitas on Blue Sky. Follow us at Console Creatures on Blue Sky. You'll find us there. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Honestly, just pick your favorite socials. We're there. We appreciate anything you follow us about.
Amazing. And as for me, you can find me across the internet at Asvigvari. And as always, we appreciate all the support. So if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, I guess, or YouTube, subscribe to the feed, share with your friends. It goes a long way. But until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.